was our first public. Yes, Patrick.
Make a public comment. Almost a year ago, maybe not quite, 10 months ago. We were in here, talking about the open space ordinance and what happened to it. Seemed like it was at a dead end at that time, although it didn't have to be. There were actually several drafts on the table that put it in that. There's also a rezoning application for myself on the table as kind of worst case alternative, because I didn't see the open space coming anywhere. We started a new process. I pulled back my rezoning application because we were engaging services of consultants. At the time, I made a comment to a couple of you that, you know, we're going to send this back to the planning commission. We really didn't have to do it legally, but we're going to do this. Can we get some type of time frame to it? Because I can see this going on for another year again. And guess what? It did. And I'm not blaming any individuals. And in fact, the ordinance that's being developed is better in many ways than the other drafts that have been considered. So that's positive. But will the board catch a time frame? And the same question I asked you or maybe October. I never could envision it going on this long, and it has to be done. Not just because the open space ordinance is a good idea, or because we have one developer who might want to use it, but because the ordinance that we have right now does not comply with state law. It's actually not valid, it stands. And it's more than one thing too. And Margaret Paul has not enumerated all the issues, but mentioned that in addition to what's called the density penalty that's in the current ordinance, there were other issues. I don't know what they are, but it can't just. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrick. Any other comments on the public? Okay. All right. Then we'll move on. The next portion of the agenda is the consent agenda, which contains minutes, presentation of bills, correspondence, committee and board reports. I would like to, I had a late arriving supervisor's report. I'd like to pull that out and discuss that before we get into the formal agenda. And I knew there was a small typo on the minutes. So on the minutes over one page, it's like page 3, at the top, motion supported by COSIC. It says 2 ayes, 1 nay, but I believe it was 3 ayes, 1 nay, and 1 abstain. Well, I thought it was 3. I'm going to do it. 1, 2, 3. Up at the top it says motion. COSIC. Oh, so 3 ayes. Yeah. Those are outstanding minutes we're taking over. I can appreciate that. Does anybody else have any adjustments to the consent agenda? We'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda with the supervisor's report pulled out in the correction to the minutes. So support. Okay, thank you. Motion by Rod, supported by Sandy. And I just want to touch on the supervisor's report because I would like to add an item to the agenda tonight. And on my supervisor's report, I reference a meeting that I had with myself, Clerk Nimke, Carol was there, our zoning admin, and Bob Skull was there as our DPW admin. And we met with Mayor Pacheco, the new city manager, Roy Atkinson, and a couple of their representatives from their DPW department. And we were really just talking about broad, regional things, housing, traffic, things that impact us all. And Mr. Atkinson, the new city manager, we talked also about the connecting the bike path, the non-motorized trail, and that way long ago, when I found it in 2018, Sylvan had supported Chelsea's grant application for a Connecting Communities grant. And then I think it kind of fizzled out and it didn't really go anywhere. So they expressed interest in us supporting them again to apply for this grant. This would help connect the trail that comes in from the east with the trail that comes in from the west, kind of around the Westchester area. It wouldn't be us, it's their grant they're going for, but because part of it would be through Sylvan, around Sylvan, they wanted our support. And so we supported it in 2018. So I have this as an agenda item I would like to add just for reconsideration, a refresh. The deadline for Chelsea to apply for the grant is August 30th. So there wasn't a lot of time to wait on it, so I apologize for last minute. So I will put the supervisor report away and then move on to the approval of the agenda, the regular agenda. Can we add the Washtenaw County Parks and Recreation Renewal Connecting Community Grants?
Third, second.
Thank you. Okay. No, I don't think I did this last time. I apologize. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Thank you. Apologize for that oversight. Okay, we don't have anything under unfinished business. The first item under new business is consideration of a memo of understanding for participation in the low-income household water assistance program. And we have someone, Ms. Klaus Ariona, correct me if I'm saying that wrong. She's here tonight and she was here to answer any questions for us. I have a memo of understanding in the packet along with the one pager that they sent regarding the program, which is geared towards helping people in situations where their water might be shut off. So it's financial assistance. There's eligibility requirements, but the one pager outlines them, and some of them are just even being on SSI. It looked like it'd be enough to qualify someone. So with that, if you would like to say anything, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I am very excited to introduce this program. It's a temporary.
You're very quiet.
Try that.
Okay, try that.
Okay, hello. Thank you for having me tonight. I'm excited to be here and to introduce my program. So the Low Income Household Water Assistance Program is up to $650 per household per fiscal year, going for direct payment to qualifying households to reconnect them to water. So we're working with several different water providers around Washtenaw County in order to reconnect people to water. It's specifically geared to individuals or households making under 150% of the federal poverty limit, or they can automatically qualify if they have other government assistance, as you're saying, like TANF, SNAP, SER, Social Security. And this also ensures provider participation up to 90 days after the LIWAP payment is given.
So do they have to be already in a shut-off status to receive the assistance, or is it just that it's imminent or?
Yep, so they just have to be in arrears. So it could be $5 in arrears, it could be $250 in arrears, it can be up to $650. We also pay a part of the $650 if the water is already shut off. We do pay for the service fees to turn them back on as well.
So when this first came forward, I was concerned for a minute because we had the water sewer authority. And I wasn't certain how this would go, but I sent it to Attorney Thal. And he reviewed it. He felt comfortable with this. The water payments coming to Sylvan Township. Yeah. And so he reviewed the memo of understanding. He didn't see, I think the way he said is he didn't see a downside for Sylvan with this. I think some of the requirements for us are we must participate in the Sigma where the payments that are coming through from the state come through that portal, but we do that now with where we used to get state revenue sharing actual checks. Now they're even direct deposited. So I think we would work similar with that system, with that money flow. So
Yeah,
we're
it's very,
part of that.
So this is something that we would like to have on the website to direct people where to apply if they need it. What do you suggest?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you if you were asking.
Would this be something that we put on our website? And that would connect to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So our intake process is through our website. It's WashingtonCounty/LIWAP. They can apply online through our intake process, or they can also call me, and I'm also available to do online or over the phone intake. We do provide a social media toolkit, so it'll be like social media posts, or we also have a flyer. You're more than welcome to mail out to your residents. So it can be direct to residents. So if they do need assistance, they're able to jump on the website or give us a call and we can be able to assist.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any other questions? The program or the memo? And this would begin right now, and then the funds are there through September 30th, 2023.
That is correct.
Okay. And then who knows? Then you'll have to see what monies are there when the program.
I'm sorry, could you say that one more time?
I was just thinking that after that time, it would just be whether there were monies there to continue the program or not. Is that correct? After 2023?
Yes, so after the program ends, we would refer out to probably SARE or other Barrier Busters teams within Washington County.
Art will move to approve the memo of understanding for the low-income household water system program. I will second.
So, okay, motion from Kurt, support by Rob. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, unanimous, motion carries. All right, thank you so much for being available tonight for questions.
Of course, thank you for having me. If you have any other additional questions, you're more than welcome to reach out.
Okay,
Have a good night.
much, you too. All right, next is the replace secure basement doors in the police area.
If you guys recall, this has been on in the budget. This is the third year. I could not get people to come out and open these doors. So the gentleman that was out fixing the handicap, putting in the handicap thing on the door. I asked him if he did exterior doors also, and he said, yes, I did. So I took him downstairs and I showed him what we needed. And I was a little bit disheartened. I want to say we have in public, but it's not really done. So, what I propose is we replace the state trooper's door like originally plotted. And instead of a deadbolt on the basement door, he said that's against the law because you can't have it. It's an exit. So what he suggested is a push bar. And so that's what he would put in that.
Did you say funds are not budgeted?
They are.
Oh, because the
They've been budgeted for, this is the third year.
Well, we don't remember, we don't have necessarily, and I meant to do it out to see how much we budgeted for that. I feel like I feel like this is surprisingly high, not that it doesn't warrant it, but I would be surprised if we budgeted that much for it, but. You know, the budget isn't quite up in BSNA right now, so I have to go back and look through my paper copy,
So
so.
the reason I question the box is checked, is it budgeted for, and says no.
Oh, that was my mistake.
Okay.
Would it be, I don't know, would it be possible to see if we can get somebody else in for a quote on that? It's been a while, I hate to put it off any longer, you know, the electrical workers are down there, they're, you know, using the door and
So the
space.
deadbolts on the double doors,
The deadbolt, it will be no deadbolt.
but where it is now is because there's the double doors where they're the workout
Right,
equipment is, but isn't there another door where they
Yes.
can enter on the, or exit the corner of the building?
That's the two.
yeah,
It's just over just a little bit from the other door downstairs.
But this, but you're talking about the double doors.
Yeah. the
right.
push
in
bar,
the-
The double doors in the troopers.
Workout room,
Where they work out.
That'll be a push bar,
right,
and the new double doors will be in the state police post. office.
The corner, so the corner of the building, 'cause I
Yeah.
see them walk around.
Yeah.
So we're talking two different.
we're talking,
Two
yeah,
different things.
two
Yep.
different things.
Yep. Originally, like I said, I asked for a deadbolt in there, but we can't. That's against the law.
I feel like we should also make sure that we run it by the state police to make sure, because I know in the past, we felt like we understood what their parameters were. We thought we could do away with the alarm system, and then when we checked, they said, no, we gotta have an alarm system. So just before we spend that much money, I know, and then I did with somebody else, and they said, I mean, you know, you just gotta go, I don't know, great person or the high up
Yeah,
enough
they
person.
just wanted to know
So
when it was gonna happen, so they can
what's that?
the door.
Yeah, okay, well, okay. You know. And I wonder if they'd be willing to kick a little bit in on that, if it's, I mean, I don't know, we don't have any lease with them, they're here. We appreciate they're here, you know, they make our buildings secure, we feel safe after elections, make that night out here. But also. Want to ask them if they would be willing to. Who's with $1,000?
Building is this actually?
Well, it's ours.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
So we're like their landlord. Sort of.
No,
Well, for
They're-
free, but yeah.
they're our
yeah.
guest.
Right,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry, but we're in control of the building.
Yes.
So.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
their landlord.
yeah.
So they're.
Well, yeah, we are up to a certain point, but I also just want to make sure that we understand, because again, we were talking about getting rid of the alarm system, and then when we asked the ditch tap people, they said, we have to have you in a building with an alarm system, we have weapons, we have. You know, and so I just want to make sure before we spend $7,000.
Yeah.
That we have more than just, because we had that from a passer trooper last time, yeah, it's fine. Well, it wasn't fine. So just before we spend $7,000 on double doors down there, just make sure they look at this quote. This works for them.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they have things that we don't know about. I don't know.
I can give them
Maybe,
a call.
maybe not.
I can give them a
Yeah.
call.
And is it possible to get another quote? I mean, at all?
I will try. I called 2 other door companies
Yeah.
and then decided to give up again, and then this guy came.
Right.
So I mean, I'll see if I can find
Let me,
someone else.
let me know who you contacted, because I'm thinking of somebody, I can't think of the name offhand.
There was a guy over on Pierceville that I tried to get out and he wouldn't. Yeah, he did a door here. He put in those basement doors,
Oh, okay,
the one
Yeah.
round ones. He put those in. So,
okay, yeah.
but evidently.
Hmm,
I'd have to look up his name, and I don't remember the other company. I'd have to get back in.
well, those are just my thoughts, I'm not sure, I'm only one of 5 people here. Those are-
Well, do you want to table this, Rod? This is your agenda item.
Yeah, I don't mind tabling until next month.
Okay.
All right, next is the computer for the new boardroom system.
kudos to you guys for asking me to contact the guy, because what I was looking at wasn't what he wanted.
Yeah,
So this is exactly what he wanted. He told me where to get it, everything else. Wow. And this is the cost. It's $809.99. And if I remember right, we approved 1,000 last month for it, so it's within what was already approved.
And again, it says funds are not budgeted, but
These
because
funds
we're not
are,
budgeting the ARPA.
right,
Okay, I'm thinking,
and so this is gonna be the main control for, okay, yeah, and then it would be, so it's a laptop or it's a?
no, it's
Oh.
a cube,
Yeah,
and it rack mount.
okay. So the screen will be the thing, this is a computer cube and it'll to the, mhm,
That'll operate everything.
okay. Yeah, this is not what I was looking at. Wow.
That was the last thing I would have thought. So I'm glad you guys said that, because
Yeah, well, and thanks for asking, and
Yeah.
Kurt moves to approve spending up to $900 for the boardroom computer.
I think we approved 1,000 last month.
Okay,
we're just approving this
Just-
particular purchase.
Yeah. Just so everybody knew that I did contact them, this is exactly what they want.
it says it's requesting a motion.
That's
Make
a
it
good
formal.
point, that's a good point.
Yeah,
I'm not against a motion, I think it's a great idea, because then we can say like, this is what we specifically move for, so. I don't have to.
I was
Record
going
your
to keep
motion.
it 1,000 if you don't mind. Just in case.
Okay,
Oh, I see. So move to approve,
$1,000,
spending up to 1,000 for boardroom computer.
I'll second.
better twice. Yeah, all right, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, thank you, motion carries. All right, next up is the consideration of a Sylvan Township credit card use policy. And this is, the Sylvan Township doesn't have a credit card that we use for purchases. And so, we have an account at Office Max, we're kind of locked in on office supplies from there. But there are situations and times we can, often get better pricing elsewhere. And there are times where people pay for a conference and people have to pay for that on their own and then get reimbursed, and that's not ideal. I can think of an instance recently too, where Bob Skull needed to quickly order some parts and they were pretty expensive and really expensive to expect someone to incorporate into their personal budget and then wait to be reimbursed. So we don't have a credit card or even have one in mind. The first step is to get a policy in place. And this is an MTA sample policy. Well, actually, the sample policy is there, but I also spoke to our attorney and he said, I just did a credit card policy and resolution for another community. And I know I like that. So he sent it to us. I switched out the other township to our township. So this is here for you to review. The credit card use policy is on top. Now that it's in the, you'll see in italics, the second paragraph, it says to receive your credit card. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Under cardholder responsibilities A, the other township established like limits, I thought I saw.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, the spending limits established in the purchasing policy, which they enabled, or called attachment B. We don't have that here because we haven't done that. We can do that if we want to create an attachment B, or we can just, go by the policy that's here. So in this policy and agreement resolution that was taken from another community, that community determined that the clerk would be the person who would be in charge of the cards. There's a lot of things in here where credit card receipts shall be, looked over, the credit card bill is not satisfactory, you need to bring in receipts. So there's work here to be done. You know, I asked Mr. Thal if it has to be the clerk. It certainly makes the most sense that it be the clerk because she's in charge of the general ledger, it takes invoices and does all that work anyway. So should be intimately, have that knowledge. But I also want to talk about, here we go again, in a way, like getting more work, needed, necessary work, and putting it in an office where, we're not also want to make sure that we're considerate on how many things we're putting uncompensated things into other offices. So that's a bigger, broader discussion we can have at another time. I just wanted to note that it referenced clerk in here. That is up to the board, if that's the person we would like, who want to adopt the policy, first of all, and then who that person would be. So it references clerk. It really could be.
So if we had like an office manager, it makes sense to me that the office manager would be the person who orders. Like office supply, who would use it the most, but we don't have an office manager.
No, but that also makes me think of that if you're the person spending, you should also have somebody who's looking over the invoices as well, like the clerk who would be paying them, because, yeah. So maybe it's ideal to have someone other than the person who would be. But you're right, I think we would be, that person would be the person who would probably use it most.
Right, but every organization that has credit cards has steps that they have to make. In order to,
Right,
they either submit their order to, like, say the clerk ahead of time, or whatever,
Yes.
we can talk about this on nauseam, but there's a, it doesn't have to be complicated, but
right,
we can make it complicated.
well, it could be complicated. Yeah. So this document is policy, submit receipts, related documentation. Must notify vendors, tax exempt, credit card cannot be used for cash advances, personal purchases.
So the policy as written, Sylvan Township credit card use policy
Mhm.
says, to receive your second paragraph. Talks about attachment A. So this sounds like if somebody wants to have a township credit card, they need to fill out attachment A and hand it to the finance department.
Right,
Okay,
Right.
that work.
which is the clerk. So,
So,
but we can change that and have that be clerk. I think that's probably a
Okay.
carryover. And you can see on the second page on the top right corner, it's got Niles Charter Township. So so much for me trying to be secretive about which community
oh yeah,
Ron Paul took it from. But look, we fixed it here. I thought we hit them all, but we didn't. But that the township where this was going, where it was a charter township, so they had departments. Since we're general law, we're just,
Right.
so the clerk is the finance department for us.
It's-
It is a change.
so what do you want to do with this policy as written? Instantly, it needs some.
Well, we can change finance department to clerk.
Okay.
And then I think the only other place was up here in the right-hand corner where it says Niles Charter Township. So we take it off. Yeah, up in the corner of,
There's 2 pages.
to the second page, and then attachment A will say Niles.
Yep.
Charter.
And we do have a township purchasing policy that does exist. It's not attached here, but we have one.
The purchasing policy. No, and that's where I was saying where they also said they had established limits, so we can create one if we want to create one and establish limits, or I'm sure that we could,
Well, it seems to me like you have to create that first before you can approve this.
Maybe we can do that. So. You know, and I don't know that there was an attachment B when this came through from Mr. Thal. So I don't know that we have a template from which to work. Then maybe we don't need a template and we can just say spending limit is. Whatever.
Like there wasn't, it looks like there may have been.
It definitely looks like there is
May
one.
haven't been included with the original.
Exactly, and maybe that was not so much Rob Paul's arena as Niles Trout, it's like this other, you know, he was more involved with the legalities of it. So maybe, you know, maybe we can reach out to Niles or, I mean, I have to reach out to Paul, but, to find out what those, you know, what their parameters were, what their different categories, if they had something, you know, a limit for office supplies versus a limit for education, a limit for, they must have had some varying.
Some of those we already have.
We have
Like
a
in the
couple
budget, we
things.
can pull things off the budget. Like for education.
Mhm. Mhm. Right. All right, well, why don't we'll table this, I will table this for this month, we can see what those, you know, what other communities are using for spending limits. And then we can put together, our own limits, our own attachment.
Oh, we definitely need, so, thank goodness.
Yes, I agree. All right, well then just, you know, in the meantime, board, if you can look over this, you have any questions, anything that you think is should be addressed, let us know. We'll make these fine tunings and then come with a proposed attachment B. For September.
I mean, you can look at. Like for office supplies, you can look at the records, what gets spent and get an idea of what might be the limit. Because it's something that happens all the time.
Right.
Over paper, whatever,
Yeah, definitely.
whatever you do with the printer, if you have to, if they don't supply any,
Copy machine.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, they do, but not the printers in the office, that's right, so there is definitely, right, you know, supply, yeah, that's true. And we could see what's in there, you know, that will change, are we gonna wanna set something that we're gonna have to revisit annually? Or are we gonna wanna maybe put something and just say this is the, we wanna revisit it periodically anyway,
right.
but I'm just wondering, I mean, we really, yeah, we could say, we spend, you know. Because we budget, you know, a certain amount,
Right.
like $900 for the planning commission for education, so then is that, you know, $125 per person, I don't know how. Fine tuned we want to get on these limits, whether it's just general limits or limits per,
Well, the price of things changes daily.
yeah.
You want to have a limit that's gonna be high enough that you don't have to go back and get it next year because we undershot.
Right,
We undershot.
right,
I'll give you a prime example of that. I went to a different day for the building. Last time I ordered it, it was $75 a case. Today it was $120.
yeah. I don't buy the case for home, but nearly, yeah, that's one of them that's, yeah, everything. So, groceries and paper products and everything.
If we get it in place, then revisit it in a year and see how it's
Mhm,
actually ran.
mhm, mhm.
Then we can go through it.
You know, you can really simplify it, say only the clerk will have the credit card. You don't need an attachment A that, you know, any employee can fill out
Mhm,
attachment A that puts the pressure on the clerk to fill this out, should I agree to it or not?
mhm. But then it puts the pressure on the clerk to do the ordering or to be, you know, Bob Skull needs to order some parts, then is she ordering the parts with the card or does she bring the card over and sit? with
She can
Bob
hand it to
while
Bob.
he does it, and then give it that? So then he is kind of happy. right? So why not have him sign something?
From a large corporation that issued a lot of employee credit cards, the company credit cards, to
Mhm.
employees, you know, there were many people that got fired for ordering personal things.
Yeah,
And then the company never recovered that money.
right. But I think if she's handing the card to Bob, he kind of has the card then too, like, you know, I mean,
If he has to order something fairly often, then he should have his own card. We just need to have an internal system that checks to make sure people aren't buying. Because it's true, I mean, we had them at where I work as well. And there's always some skunk who does that. And they did really crack down, so it's not, but it's just having more than one set of eyes looking out the ordering this time.
and you know, we're not gonna be nearly as many cards on as consumers. We're gonna work with, you know, we're gonna have 3 at most. It'll be you, it'll be Bob Stull. Maybe I know our office manager,
Yeah.
but you know, it's not gonna be that many out there.
I could, if Kathy has a credit card, I can check, see how many.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I think the captains have it, I think the secretary has it, the chief has it, so.
yeah,
So we're quite a few, yes, people.
and then, you know, and again, I mean, even there, that's way beyond what we're gonna have. I envision probably 3 or 4 people with the card. And it's gonna be you and it's gonna be Bob, and those are the people who are gonna be doing it, so there won't be a whole lot of, you know, stuff like Sandy, as long as we have the internal controls
Right.
to make sure that people aren't abusing it, should be pretty easy to
Right.
track, right?
We've all sort of had experience with people trying to use it for themselves, so we just have to set up controls so we can do that.
Right.
For them.
Right, right.
And it could be, you know, submitting their order through, maybe through you, I mean, I
Right.
hate to throw everything on. But there have to be some other eyes. At least.
There should be.
So right now, somebody puts it on their personal credit card and then
That's correct,
fills out paperwork to request a
reimbursement.
reimbursement.
And you know that I could see a situation where people would personally profit from that. Because most credit cards that we have some sort of mileage or points or, you know, things that you get, so. And we are not supposed to personally benefit from our office, and so that feels bad, that feels like. There's that appearance, even if I don't know that it happens or it's, you know, minimal, it's the appearance of it. And that feels bad. So I feel like if we have a township credit card, that really solves everything. We don't have to feel bad about it. People don't have to wait, you know, 2 weeks until, you know, the accountant is here or something. So it's just would be easier.
And it also allows us to research products instead of just looking to order them from one company that will send us an invoice.
Right.
That would be very valuable.
I've said that for a long time.
Yes. See, there's a big benefit to
There's
having a credit card. We're able to look at multiple vendors.
Mhm. So what do we envision the spending limits looking like? I mean, I can see what attachment B was, but just so I have an idea. Or do people not really know yet? Just have to see
Well,
those.
I mean, we'd have to know like for office supplies, which means
Mhm.
somebody has to do some homework and look and see what was spent last year.
Oh, that's easy. Mhm.
And I'll give you a number,
You're right.
whatever it is Bob does.
Right.
It's a mystery. It's
It's a mystery to me. And, but, you know, just look at over what was spent over the last year. Should give us something. With the rest of this year anyway.
Yeah, right. All right, well, then we'll table this to clean it up and come back with an attachment B for spending. Is your motion, Kevin? Yes.
Second.
Any other discussion on it? All in favor of tabling, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Moving on. 50, if I'm in the right order here, the readoption of the ordinance to amend and correct the township zoning map. And if you feel like you're having deja vu, you are, because we recently did this, we did the ordinance. And when the ordinances are passed, there's, work and publication that has to be done. Sometimes the ordinances are lengthy and you can publish a summary. And summarizing legal documents is something we prefer to leave to our attorney. And so he was going to do the summary for us. And it needed to be posted within 15 days, I think it was, of our meeting date, and we failed to meet that. So the board needs to take fresh action again, and Mr. Thal has indicated he's ready with whatever needs to be published in the newspaper. So we can do this, publish it, and put it to bed, so then the other things that are happening as a result of this can go forward. So Carol's here tonight, which I appreciate. I know she was heavily putting this together and worked all out with the planning commission. And if you have any questions, or if you have anything you want to say, Carol, if the board has questions, Carol is here to.
Should this have an ordinance number on it? Let's see if it's not line.
So we put an ordinance number on it last time. Let me look in those minutes. Carol. Is it just gonna? I think because we did it last time. I don't know if you put it in here. I don't see it. I feel like, yeah. Okay, sorry about that. I thought about the resolution earlier, but not the ordinance. So does everybody recall this reason? I know Sandy's been through it a couple times at the planning commission level and at the board, but these are the parcels along Brown Drive. And the parcels along 52.
How does this relate to our zoning map? Does our zoning map reflect this change, or do we do this change first and then change the zoning map?
Zoning map will get, this is a discussion, same discussion we had last month.
Yeah.
The zoning map will get changed. But after, the other part to that was, so had we'll have to bring back probably in September, another amendment to the zoning map, which is going to be identifying all the consent judgment properties.
Okay, so that's still.
Yeah.
Right.
And once we get that done, then we can publish or redo, adopt the new zoning map.
That's what I was thinking. So I should have asked all this question, but so last time it was 2201.
Well, yeah, we haven't had any.
We haven't had any, I mean, but this is still 2201. It's still the same ordinance. We wouldn't give it an
Yeah,
ordinance.
no, you don't give it any number.
Thank you. Okay.
Because it wasn't really, it was adopted, but it wasn't effective, so.
Right, it's the same, yes. Same ordinance, new action on the same ordinance. Let's see. So you have the ordinance, there's the planning commission action on this. Lots of backup, couple planning commission meetings where the public hearing probably action. The action that was taken way back in 2010, that was not done correctly. All the people that they notified. Well, I will make a motion that we approve ordinance 2201.
I'll second. Are you doing this by resolution?
No, I was just, we were getting a number for a resolution that was in the packet. We forgot to look at. So there's not an ordinance or resolution that's associated with this.
Okay.
This is just the ordinance. It's the ordinance 2201. Let's say to approve adoption of an ordinance to correct the type. So, we'll just say approve ordinance 2201 to correct the zoning map.
Second.
All right, any other discussion? All right, since it's an ordinance, we'll do a roll call vote. Kurt,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Kathy, yes. Rod,
Yes.
Sandy,
Yes.
thank you. All right, motion carries. All right, thank you. Okay, oh wait, the temporary, yeah. Okay, so, I added a few items. Oh, shoot. I added a few items, at the end of last week. and One of them is I wanted to ask the board or bring to the board, Susan, our office manager, is out, for a procedure. She's gonna be out for approximately 6 weeks at best. And, it could be longer. And so right now we have Kathleen Ransom, who we hired as our floater person. And so she today, she was off yesterday, a scheduled day off, but today she came and sat in Susan's desk. And I asked her if she could come and sit there, while Susan's absent. And she said, she'd be, she said, I don't have a problem with it. She does have other things she does. She does work for Carol. She does, doing work during elections. That has probably died down. So I said, well, at least 2 of the 4 days were open. Can you sit up front? And maybe the other 2 days her desk is in the back. If work would pull her away. So I was unsure, we kind of talked about maybe, do we want to go to a temp agency and get someone to sit at that front reception desk? And answer the phones and answer our walk-ins. So
Would she be willing to sit there 4 days a week and she could do her other work afterwards?
maybe, but I think also like if she's doing stuff for Carol, then that's contingent upon whether Carol is here, which she is most of the time, but I wouldn't want to require that of, but she might be willing to do that for more hours. And maybe it would be, yeah.
Think about bringing somebody in from the agency. If you have somebody sitting at the front desk, then that's a whole body of knowledge that this person coming in is in front of. Doing enough.
Right, right. And we're kind of in a lull for elections from a brief moment, and taxes, I'm not sure, how much, or when's your deadline? When are people done? September 14th.
But you could ask
Yeah,
Kathleen if she
wow.
would do the front desk thing and hire somebody to do her work.
Well, we could. I think it's worth asking if she wants to do both, but if not, we could give her the option, Because we assume Susan's going to be coming back also, so we don't want to get too many people, and we don't want.
But I think we need to authorize, if we're going to go in that direction, we need to authorize it today, because Susan's only due to be gone 6 weeks.
Right.
We're gonna be a month till our next board meeting.
Yeah, that's true,
So we need to go in some direction today,
yeah.
not knowing all of the answers.
And I don't know what it would cost at a temp agency either. This just kind of came up last week and we were thinking, oh my gosh, here we are, we knew this was coming. And I did talk to Kathleen, and we are fortunate that we have her here. Without her, we would be definitely in a different part. So she's
been
here.
long enough that she's learned a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I think I would might ask her first, but
Okay.
hire somebody to do her job. What
Okay.
she's doing right now, because she's
Well-
been here long enough that she's got some kind of idea of
Yeah.
what's going on.
Right,
And
but then when Susan comes back, if she goes back to her other job, then we've got this extra person that we hired on.
you're just gonna hire somebody for 6 to 8 weeks from an agency.
Okay.
And take Kathleen's job.
Oh,
And then with
yeah,
Kathleen
I see,
and
right,
Susan.
right, okay. Gotcha, stepping them up, that makes sense.
I think if she agreed to do it. that would just be-
Right. Well, and she can sit up front and do some of the work, some of the stuff for Carol. Some things are hard to, you get in the groove and you're making packets, you're copying stuff, and it's hard to be interrupted.
Yeah.
But,
She can log into Susan's computer under her name. So it'll be her desktop. and everything
Right.
else.
right, but it's still, Well, I mean,
About this. We make a motion to ask Kathleen Ransom to do the job. And get some extra hours, and do hers afterwards, and if she says no, then we explore it. That way it's kind of taken care of tonight,
Yeah,
you know?
plus ask her if she would sit at the board. If she doesn't want to do that, like you suggested. And ask her if she wants to sit at the front desk and have somebody in hire temporary for 6 to 8 weeks to do her job. Now we got everything covered.
mhm. Not a bad idea. Well, I like it. We should offer it to her if she wants to.
Yeah.
That's great. If, at least have her sit up front. And then,
And if she says no,
well, right, that's the thing. If she says no, then
Then we
I,
got hiring.
then we'll look at hiring a
That's
temporary.
cool.
person.
That's why
But I
we
feel
say
about,
motion.
but
Yeah.
hire the temp for the front desk position.
Sandy's saying hire the temp to fill Kathy Ransom's copying floater.
She may
position.
not, but she did not sound interested in sitting in front.
Well, she didn't, but she did today. She came right in and smiled on her face and said, hey, you want me to sit up there? And I said, yeah, like we talked about, and she did a great, I thought she did a good job.
well, either way, you're
So-
gonna hire a temp. So
Well, I
so
I
when you get
guess,
the
right?
temp, let Kathleen kind of figure out what your first option, Kathleen.
See what they want to do.
Yeah, see what she- get the temp,
And yeah, no, that's why I was saying, make a motion like that.
and that's the way this reads, it's hire a temp.
Yeah, well, and that's, but I just, yeah, it was a thought. I didn't know if that was something the board wanted to do or support, it's not a,
Yes.
okay, excellent. Yes,
So I will move to approve the supervisor to contact the temp agency to find a temporary work. For a period of,
If Kathy Ransom doesn't want to.
well, once you get the temp person here,
Okay,
then it's like Kathy, the temp, figure that out.
Because the temp will have to cover either the front desk or the floater position.
Right.
right. And do we feel like right now there's enough of those floater position duties? I mean, that's the other thing. Because the floater position, it ebbs and flows. And I feel like, there's times where we really, really need somebody, and then sometimes there's times where I'm just really not sure.
I think we need to have somebody here.
Yeah, I'll do it. All right. So the motion for Kurt is to approve the supervisor to contact a temp agency, to find a temporary one. Second that. All right. Motion by Kurt, supported by Amanda. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say nay. All right, motion carries. I meant to, make an adjustment to the agenda earlier and remove this item. Because it's not really, it's not appropriate for me to, I feel like, propose this. I looked a little bit into the MTA, when you recuse yourself from a vote. And they say not only do you recuse yourself from the vote, you recuse yourself from the discussion. You are not to do any fact finding or information gathering. And I did. I went out and said, hey, asked election person, what would you charge today? And they gave me, and now it, ethically knowing that that is what MTA suggests and recommends, it goes against my grain to put this forward. It feels like it's not, if I can't vote on it and have a discussion, can't information gather, it's certainly not appropriate for me to bring the item in front of the board. So I am just going to, remove this item from the agenda. Or entertain a motion, or table, or, I can't really table it. So,
So if it's tabled and I want to talk about it. Then what do we do?
well, and I suppose you could submit a new agenda item, and I could just remove this and you could submit one. Do you mean for next month?
No, for
Like,
right now.
Right now?
Yes.
Well,
Keep putting everything
I
off.
think it's, well, yeah. You know, I think we would have needed to have done that at the beginning of the meeting. I don't know. I, you know,
Well, if we have to wait until next month, then let's do that, but I would like to have that as an agenda item. on the agenda.
okay. All right. All right, so I'm gonna make a motion to remove my item. And since I didn't do that earlier, I feel like the need to make a motion on that to remove this item from the agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you. All right. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Thank you. Assignment of board packet duties. So this just came about, we were, putting together the board packet, and it's some feat. There's a lot of, documents here and things to put together and make sure things are in order, and, it's one of those things that gets done, but it's not really assigned to anyone, and so it's just sort of a mystery about where it belongs.
I thought Susan put together. the packet.
Susan puts together the board packets, she does, but I don't know that that's in her job description either, like, I don't think it's, and I should have pulled it, because honestly, she's doing the job's called receptionist. Clerk typist is the job. So it's, the job description is pretty, just answer the phones, and it hasn't evolved with the township. So,
She does a lot of things.
well, yeah, she does a lot of things, and then there's a lot of things that, we end up doing too that are not necessarily assigned to someone. And I think personally, what I'm finding is there was a lot of things that I did as clerk, but I don't know that they're necessarily clerk's work. I think sometimes I was doing them in the vacuum of a supervisor when we maybe didn't have someone who was so hands-on. So then it gets really confusing. Like, am I taking this part with me? So I think this could certainly lead to a greater, broader discussion about what we do, our statutory duties, all the extra duties that we do that are signed. And just really be clear, about, right.
I'm sure.
thank you.
I am sure that Susan's job description needed to be updated like 10 years ago. Because it doesn't include, and it's very simplistic. She does way more than that, so
Mhm.
so when you look at updating her job description so that it actually covers the things that she does.
That she does, right. And really all of us. I mean, I would like to have this discussion with all of us here, because there's a lot that we are doing that are outside of those statutory.
Right.
So can we, think it would be a great idea to talk about what those things, what our statutory duties are, because I don't feel like all the statutory duties are equal among us either. Clerks, heavy as load, no doubt, absolutely. And so, for a while, up until I think our last budget year, we were like, we are all equal, but that is not the case.
No.
And I was not able to advocate for myself very well when I was clerk, but I feel very empowered right now to advocate on behalf of the clerk's office, because it's big. It's really big, and we made adjustments, thankfully, you know, I think for, you know, for the new, for this year, for the clerk, which will help and make things better. And the clerk does make a little bit more. Now there are funds for when you're working all these extra hours in the election. But even outside of that, I just think it would be a good, exercise for us to look at what our jobs are and what kind of things we do, what things could maybe an office manager or a Susan do, or if we, maybe they need more, maybe we need more hours. Just, that's a big,
I know it's hard to just make yourself do it, because it's gonna just be very time consuming, but you need to. It really, really would benefit everyone.
it would benefit everyone. And the other thing that, you know, we have talked about a little bit, I've been thinking about is doing like a wage study. And I know MTA has a nice salary survey. You can go in there, you say how many parcels, you know, your net value, your taxable value. And it will, you know, give you a range, but I believe that's only for the elected officials. I'm also interested in what we're paying our assessor and the assessor assistant and things like that. Because when we hired the person who is currently the assessor assistant, she was the assessor when we hired her in. And then we hired Catherine, and Catherine said, you know, there's a lot of work to do. I would like to keep Susan. And we said, okay, I don't know that we ever adjusted her rate of pay. So she's still getting the same rate of pay that she got when she was assessor, the big one. And now she's the assistant. And the assistant is hourly and our assessor is salary. And we all know Catherine Stoll puts in a tremendous amount of hours here. And she doesn't begrudge it. She does it because that's her work ethic. But ethically, like, are we looking at that now and saying, okay, our assessor is making less per hour than the assistant? Or should we have looked? So I really feel like, you know, as somebody outside, I don't know how much this would cost. I don't have no idea. But really to just kind of look at what we're doing and help us make sure that we're being fair.
Compensating for their time. I would say that it needs to be updated, sort of like the audiovisual industry. It's probably still the same stuff from 1999. And,
Mhm.
Yeah.
so, I mean, it's not your fault. but-
No,
Because nobody has the time to do that.
well, right, and it's, you know, yeah.
So do we have, are we doing something with this, with the duties? This is a very nice packet, whoever put this together, good job.
Well, thank you. I think it was a little bit of me, a little bit of Carol, and a little bit of Amanda, a little bit of Susan, and team effort. So, yeah, that won't always happen, but thank you. So, you know, no, we could say, I'll make a motion that we assign board packet duties to the receptionist.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make that motion, just so we've got traction. This is something. Okay, motion by Kathy, supported by Sandy. Any other discussion on that one? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And then, but I also feel like there's a bigger discussion that we all could have, and I feel like it could take up a amount of time at a meeting, but I feel like we need to do it because we just.
Very outdated.
But if I may, the receptionist that we have though is going to be out for the next 6 to 8 weeks. So we have made this motion, but now we have to consider the next month board pack because.
So you're going to hire somebody to take in
That's all.
that position.
Well, yeah,
Well, and that would be assembling board packets, but I guess we haven't defined this as well as I would like, because
yeah,
actually putting the board packs together is not something a receptionist would do. We make that choice. We select the agenda items we
Okay.
want.
well,
And the receptionist simply just
Assemble.
assembles.
right, but that's what I think of, like setting the agenda, and that's another good question, and we talked about this in the past, and it was when Pete Flintoff was our attorney, and he said there aren't any rules around an agenda. Because agendas aren't required, because we were saying whose job is it to set the agenda? And definitely that should be up here, but then once we set the agenda, who gathers all the paperwork, you know, and traditionally it's Susan who does that. I was hoping to have 1 month with Kathleen where she could do that, but I didn't start early enough because, you know, by the time we were prepping for August, we would need the elections, and so I probably should have started, you know, having her shadow in June. But, you know,
But before Susan would assemble those and make copies and upload them, et cetera. So Susan was doing that every
Susan
month.
would put them together.
Right.
But I think there was a lot of oversight, right? And I know she had problems. There were problems uploading things. So it wasn't, I don't want to present it as though it was a seamless process when Susan did it, because it really was even then, you know, all hands. Carol's, you know, giving her the stuff and all that. So,
Ton of material that comes from different places,
right.
and that whoever's information it is, they have to get that.
Right.
Person who puts the packet together.
And then on Thursday, as it was noon and the packet wasn't together yet, and Susan had to leave. And so then it sort of became a like, you know, I mean, I stayed and I did it and I got it together and I scanned it in and uploaded it, and it took a couple hours and it was okay. But it's kind of, you know, you do one of those, it's okay things 3 times a week for 8 years and you start to say, how can we talk about this? Like, I'm glad we made that motion. I want to have a further conversation about job duties, what we do, who does them.
Yeah.
You know, realistically.
So by duties, we are clarifying that as assembling.
Assembly, correct.
Right. Yeah,
That's what I thought it meant.
I thought, yeah.
Small look at it for this. Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I thought. we did. Yes.
Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, and now I would add the item. Oh, geez, I'm sorry. Yeah, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right. Thank you, motion carries. Sorry. All right, and then the item that we added at the beginning of the item, which was Washtenaw County Parks and Recreation renewal of the Connecting Communities Grant. And so this is where we did resolution, oh, man, I already forgot, was it resolution 2209. With the Parks and Rec Commission wants to help communities expand the trail network in the county by renewing Connecting Communities program. Whereas we acknowledge there's been made available monies for 5 years. The first stage resulted in grants in 10 communities. Now we recognize new community connection program will provide $600,000 per year for trail construction in the next 4 years, 2022 to 2023. In addition, 100,000 will be made available for trail planning, design, engineering. Whereas realizing the positive impact expanding the non-motorized trail will have on the citizens of our township. Now therefore be it resolved, the Seward Township Board of Trustees hereby supports the Connecting Communities program. Yes, we do. So I will make a motion that we approve resolution 2209 in support of the Connecting Communities program. Any other discussion?
I think you gave 2209 to the other resolution.
Oh, to the one earlier in the packet?
Yep.
But we didn't, no, the resolution, but was that the resolution we didn't pass for my first page?
But it was assigned to it, so perhaps it should be clarified.
That's a good point. So the resolution that was earlier given 2209.
The credit card policy.
The credit card policy that didn't pass. So, yeah, so we could do this 2209, and then when we revisit the credit card policy, that would be 2210, or whatever it is when we think of that. Thank you, Carol, for, you know what, any more confusion than necessary. Okay, as a resolution, I don't think we need a roll call vote, so I could just say, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, resolution declared adopted at the regular meeting of the Township Board of Trustees held on August 9, 2022. All right, I lost the second page of my agenda. It's somewhere in the papers, but I imagine we're at the second public comment portion.
Yes.
Are there any public comments? Okay. All right, the Board of Trustee comments.
Yes.
Yes.
I have a couple. One, I think it was the last meeting you talked about inviting Barry Lonick here. And, I am happy to contact him. I know you all are busy. But is there somebody who's gonna contact him or should I do it?
If you'd be willing to, that would be
I'm
great.
happy to do that.
We, in September, the library wants to come and do a brief presentation on their mobile unit they have now, their mobile CDL. I don't think that'll take a long time, but I'm just thinking about upcoming meetings, just to let you know that we've got something already in September, but that's not a deal breaker. I just wanted to let you know.
So I'll contact him and ask if he comes in September.
Yep, October, September, whenever,
Okay.
sometimes, yeah. All right.
The other thing I want to mention is, so since I came on the Board of Trustees, I wanted to know how much interest we have received from that settlement of a number of years ago. We recently were informed that we have about $287,000 in interest. And I would like us to employ an engineering company to tell us how much it would cost to run water and sewer under 94, so that it's available for use on the south side of 94.
Well, we had sort of an informal one for water, I think, which was what kind of lumped into that rate study. And then, of course, there was one that, that was dated 2016 that came to us in 2018 or whatever. And that was stale by that time and it wasn't. So the one that was recent by AIA, I don't know how deep dive they did. I don't know how fine tuned that number was, but I don't think there's been something like that for sewer.
Well, I think that we need to look at allowing there to be development on the south side of 94. And the easiest way to do that is to provide water and sewer.
Well, I've been really wanting to try to find somebody or talk to the right people at the proving grounds about water. I think, I don't know, I know people say that it's icy, they've got their water tower, you're already trucking water over there, like. Okay, but is that, the most fiscally sound thing they can do? And so I don't know, it's worth a question, but I think, because I would love, it would be such a bonus to hook up that much water without necessarily incurring development. But yeah, I mean, I would be interested just to see what that number would be for that reason, right?
So we can decide whether we can think about it or not. Whether it's anything that we want to do. I mean, we have some money here that's not assigned to anything else. I think that would be a good use.
What I think a comment that we've heard from residents, which is valuable, is that do we want to push taxpayer subsidized development?
I'm sorry.
Do we want to push taxpayer subsidized development? Because we are taking money. Okay, it's the taxpayers that have to pay for that to go under 94. So
It's interest that we earned on a settlement.
right, that could be used for other things.
But
I
we've
mean,
not
maybe-
come up with anything to do.
Right. But
We don't want to use it frivolously, for sure.
absolutely not.
But having development allowed on the south side of 94 would take a lot of pressure off a lot of the areas.
And I think we discussed it in the past, we're headed in a direction that changes Sylvan Township. And is that the direction that we want to head?
And we can't stop it, we can
No, we,
corral it, we manage it, yes.
well, very good. I think there can't be harm in finding out some cost. You know,
Right.
what it would cost.
Yeah.
And I do feel like that, you know, if there's anything to be had in the proving grounds, that I would really love to see something happen there. But, you know, for me, for that reason alone, I would just be interested to see.
The old regime. What the answer said, sure, run it to us, we're gonna.
I'm sorry, I
I was
was
kinda-
gonna.
Oh, I'm sorry, the old regime. That ran Chrysler.
Yeah.
And the last one said, sure, if you run it to us, we'll connect. And I was in the discussion there. Now it's different people that run it, so who
Mhm.
knows?
Right, right.
Your water is
Right.
crap,
Yeah, it's gotta be.
but it was their instrumentation. That's why they trumped it.
That's why they truck it in, because they have barely fine tuned instruments, and if they have well water going through that, that's got any sort of levels of minerals or things that can, you know, get in there and mess up their instruments, so they want real nice, clean water coming in there, and we have it, a lot of it. A lot of it. So if we can get it to them, you know, and we can manage an arrangement like that, I think that would be ideal. And the people who are currently on the water system would be very happy. They're paying very high rates because there's so few of them. So if we can really spread those REUs out, I think. Very good.
So now what do we do?
Well, I guess we, maybe direct Bob Skull to, see if he can get an estimate or a couple estimates to go, you know, to go under 94. I think the other question then is like, and maybe it's just variables, but then like what size pipe would go under there? So-
Nothing.
I know. And
That'd be
it
not
could
right.
maybe like, this is the amount, and then if it was an 8 inch, it would be this, if it was 12
Yeah.
inch, it would be this much, but I don't know how. it works. So, well, we can ask him, yeah,
Alright.
certainly, and see if he can see what, what it's going to be.
Okay,
We will know.
thanks.
Very good. I had a couple things in my supervisor report, and so I don't know if you guys have it in front of you, but just yesterday, the county wrote back to me about some dates for us to get together to talk about the bond. So here's the dates they presented. They said they're really not, they can't do anything before September, so they offered 3 in September, and then said if those don't work, you know, here's some other options. Do you guys want to check your calendars while we're here, or do you want to email me over the next couple days what your preferred? You do, yes. Good mornings. Yeah.
I was gonna say September 7th, 11 AM, seems to be 11 AM, seems like when we've had previous calls.
Yeah, yeah, I like that one. That's much better. We like that,
Yeah.
September 7th. Okay. All right, and it looks like they're anticipating a Zoom meeting. Everybody okay with that? That sounds good. All right, I will let him know, and then they'll put it in their calendars, and hopefully they'll have, you know, a spreadsheet for us beforehand. And we'll look at it. And we'll put it at that. All right. Let's see, what are some other things I wanted to mention? The bond was refinanced. I think they secured 2.85 as an interest rate instead of the 4 that we had. So I think our total savings was gonna be just over $63,000 over the 4 years. Which was a little less than, you know, what they had been talking about. I think they were saying more like 80 or something, but that's. It's so that is set to close tomorrow. Well, the county, that's their bond, you know, the county's gonna close on that, and they have the funds to do so. So that was a secured. I went to Cap Dart last Thursday, and a gentleman from the county was there about their county action, their climate action plan. And I will email it to the board members, and we can put it on our website. I thought I printed it out. Oh, yeah. It's Resilient Washington, so they have quite a plan. The county wants to have all their county buildings zero net in carbon footprint by 2030. And they want the entire county to be zero net by 2035. So those are some lofty goals. They got a lot of stuff they're working on. And this is here, they wanted input from us, input on the residents. Do we think this is dumb? Do we think this is worthwhile? What things would we like to see? Mr. Delu offered to come out to the township also and do a presentation on the climate plan. If that's what the board would want to do at any point. So.
And what do they mean by the entire county? Everything in the county?
Yeah, that's right. And we were kind of like, wow, that's really seems like that's pretty, you know, it is pretty, yeah. You know, for 5 years after their own, you know, houses in order to think that everyone in the entire county would be able to, but you know, they set goals and that's what they want to do, so. I have a plan. I have a plan.
That's a target.
Oh, there's a whole plan. Here, you can look at this
So
later. There's a-
That plan is supposed to achieve that. goal?
Well, this is, yeah. Yeah, you're right. There's more details for sure. This is just
Tear
an
down
overview.
how many-
Yeah.
sorry.
Then I guess the only other thing I wanted to mention is that we had a really nice meeting with Cheryl Siddall from the Washtenaw County Road Commission and the new executive or the new managing director there, Adam Lake. And Rod and Amanda sat in on that with us and that was interesting. They also, you know, wanted to get feedback, talk about, you know, how they address roads, what roads get addressed, what we like to see. So coming out, and then we also have a new district foreman. Paul Schneider was our district foreman for a while and he left and I've forgotten the gentleman's name already.
Scott.
Yeah, Scott. So he's gonna be out here, he's gonna be our representative and, you know, helping us pinpoint roads that will need attention. And work with us on some other things. One thing that we funded this year, I don't think we've done in the past since I've been here is, clearing the canopy on certain rural roads where they have had farmers who can't get their equipment down because the tree coverage is such. So they're gonna be coming out. We paid, I think, $8,000 this year for this. They have 1 or 2 machines for the whole county. So we have to, you know, wait for them to come around and do this. But they clear around the trees. It doesn't create it totally open, but they were telling us that it should help preserve the road too. When you get sunshine on the road, it helps dry the water. When there's a dense canopy that doesn't allow sun to get to the road, water pools, water sits, that's when bad things happen. So it's gonna be helpful for the farmers, which we, you know, want to make sure that farmers can still do their thing in our community and not have to break their equipment driving under trees and maybe have a secondary effect of being better for the world. So, but I felt like that was a really good meeting and it was really good time. And then we have our audit. Oops.
Well, I know, so we had a successful primary. I issued 605 absentee ballots and I processed 528. Which most of them came in the last weekend. A lot. Contacted Tel Systems, they're looking to start the installation in September. So they're waiting on some equipment right now. And Point and Pay, I reached out to that representative as well, and he was going to speak with his manager, but I haven't heard back. So,
Good job on the election.
yeah, so that's great to have that under the balance. So I also wanted to discuss a conversation that I overheard today in the office that I found a little concerning. It was a staff member was speaking with others, and the staff member was representing, or she was referencing a commercial realtor who was bemoaning having to deal with Silver Township because of our stance on development. And the staff member said that they would reach out to the realtor, because this person did not want to miss out on new development. The staff member also said that, was kind of discussing how things would be built out in 40 years and the fact that everything was going to be built out. And had called the residents NIMBYs, which is not in my backyard people, because they didn't understand planning. I think that's a derogative term. It mischaracterizes our residents who speak out and have a voice, and feel like they want, they want to have a voice if they feel that development will undermine their community. So I would like us to just uphold a standard of conduct and to think about the fact that we're representing the public, we are in the public's eye, and to make sure that we're careful in our conversations.
Very good. All right, Kurt, anything? Brad, nothing? All right.
Kathy, you're on this week. I want to come talk to you about the Leone.
Yes, I will be. I'm gonna be, let me check my calendar. We can rally up after we adjourn, but let me check my calendar because there are meetings coming up, but yeah, we can, talk about Leone. It's really, there's not a lot going on. It's still when the plant is ready in 2023, or when Mr. Linneberry, or when Leone Township signs that consent order, Eagle has indicated they would start loosening restrictions. And in the board packet, I put communication in there. I sent Mr. Linneberry a letter saying, hey, we're, in a bad spot with development, we need this. And he wrote back, and it was in here, just that they were working on it. He wanted to assure us they were working towards it. It wasn't an easy thing for them to do. So it was kind of not a whole lot. Since then, the Westchester developers, I talked to him in the parking lot on Monday. He was coming in to talk to me, and everybody's being patient right now. He suggested, maybe we should have a meeting again with Eagle and Mr. Linneberry. And I said, we can do that, but we did that before Mr. Linneberry didn't show up. So we can't force him to be there. And if he doesn't come, then it's me and the developers and Eagle again, just like it wasn't the last, which is not a bad thing. It's just not without Mr. Linneberry there. So, we kind of thought about the idea. It was thrown out like, well, maybe we should suggest that we would be at Leone Township, because then it would be too difficult for Mr. Linneberry to not be there. And also, sometimes in discussions with our attorney, in a way, it's them. Like, I'm happy to be there to be a bridge, but really the developers in Leone, I'm just a conduit, really. I'm telling Howard, hey, we're getting in touch with the developers. Howard's like, yeah, okay. But there's no reason why the developers wouldn't, and I think maybe they possibly already are, going to Mr. Linneberry themselves to say, we're having questions. Like I said, I'm happy to be there, but I'm not in the decision making capacity.
So let me know when you have some time.
Okay, perfect. And also in here, I don't want to miss, because there was the IMED study. And I don't know if we put any out there, but there was the study that Ted Erickson did from IMEG regarding the water. Here's all the development we know we have coming. Here's our capacity. Therefore, here's what we will have. And I gave everybody a copy of that. So feel free to look through that. And I'm sure that will be part of in September. I believe the rezoning request will be coming to us. So it will no doubt be part of the packet at that time, but no reason why you can't look at it now.
Yeah, this IMEG level is pretty much worthless.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
They said this is worthless, what Ted Erickson has done here.
Why is that?
Well, he's got so many disclaimers in there based on the information provided, based on discussions with Bob Halliwell, who's not associated with Sylvan. Then he goes on and he says, the timing of this request for this review did not allow us to verify pressures or fire flows with the hydraulic model. Well, that's the whole problem we have with Westchester Farms. was the fire flows.
Well, and not if they put in 12-inch pipes, right? That was Ted Erickson's other thing that he did, and I think we're still waiting on the final report for that, but that was his preliminary findings. I think we discussed that last time. There was an email, I had like the little diagram, the yellow pipe. But
Right, so from a township position, the official document, the latest one we have is infrastructure alternatives, which identified pressure issues with fire hydrants in Westchester Farms,
with 8-inch pipes or with 12-inch pipes?
with the system that Westchester Farm had proposed, designed. So they provided to us, we had infrastructure alternatives evaluated, and they identified certain areas where pressure would be adequate on fire hydrants.
With whatever pipe they put in, whether it was 8-inch or, and then my understanding was Ted came back and said,
They,
if there's 12-inch pipes, then it'll be
well,
okay.
there were solutions that were suggested to alleviate the issue. But since then, Westchester Farms has completely redesigned their whole.
And they haven't,
build-out.
we haven't even seen, that hasn't even come to us. We don't even know.
Bob Helen, Skull hasn't done his best.
But that's just a preliminary one. I don't think anything, they haven't come forward. And if we haven't approved it, is it approved? I don't know. I don't
Well, I'm
think so,
assuming
but
because it's consent judgment, they can do what they want. There's no.
no, we
planning
still
commission
have to,
review.
no, we
There's
still,
no-
They're
we still
changing.
have to, yeah. And it needs to be consistent. We still have to have an approved plan here. So this is kind of what we've been telling them too, is like, come together, get what the rest of your phases are gonna look like, because they changed it. You know, originally it was gonna be single family homes, then it was gonna be maybe more duplexes, cottage styles. Then, you know, phase 10 was maybe gonna be storage, because they realized people who live in smaller homes without basements need storage. So it's kind of been all over the place, but they haven't come to us, and Carol, correct me if I'm wrong, with a final, like, this is what our phases are gonna look like.
The board has not received it and we do not have an amendment yet. It has not been drawn up. But Ted Erickson has said, if they put in 12-inch, they won't need a booster.
Well, there are many solutions. They could do more cross connections than that would, but.
But that's that's a separate discussion.
Right.
But
where-
Ted has made it clear that the 12-inch would take care of the need for a booster.
Right, but where we stand today is their system as designed and approved. You know, we have issues with.
So but they've designed and put in through phases 1 through 3? Or because my understanding is that after phase 3, they're changing. Right. So you're saying what's there right now, serving the 3 phases of the home, we have problems with that.
I'm not sure how many phases are part of that, but there's an infrastructure alternative report that identifies hydrants that
Right,
have inadequate pressure.
right. It'll lower pipe,
I
but
don't
if
know
we
if
put
that's-
in the 12-inch pipe, then my understanding was Ted Erickson, who's our board-approved water engineer, I think when Mr. Brooks was here, we made a motion that we were gonna, IMEG was gonna be our water engineer. And he's the one who's now saying, if they put in a 12-inch pipe, it's okay, and they haven't built that out yet. This is all negotiable, I mean, as I understand, because they're coming back to us and saying, this is the plan we want to do now. And so, you know, I mean, even if they had planned, you know, whatever years ago to only add 4 more homes, but now they're adding a whole bunch more, it's gonna unfold as we go.
So without knowing what Westchester, what we officially have says their issues. And without knowing where they're headed, how can Ted Erickson say that there is adequate water along Pierce Road? It's
It was a
The com-
capacity study.
the conclusion he's drawing.
Well, but it's
is-
a capacity study, was my understanding. It didn't really have to do with water pressure and flow. I mean, it says right up here, subject line WTP capacity. So perhaps, you know,
That's,
perhaps that was the,
it's worthless.
I don't know if it's.
I mean, it's a good
worth it. Maybe you
start.
didn't ask the question you wanted, but I don't think it's worth.
Right, that's why you should have an
So-
engineering statement of work. Here's specifically what we want you to
Mhm.
study. And
Well-
Ted Erickson has refused to do work that way.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that. You know, maybe. you
And if
work
we
with
had
more-
infrastructure alternatives studied previously,
Mhm.
why we have Ted Erickson doing it now?
Well, why did we approve as board Ted Erickson was gonna be our water engineer if we didn't have any confidence? in
I
Ted
don't
Erickson?
know that we approved it. I would never have approved it
Oh, we did.
for a
Oh, yeah.
specific project.
No, no, no.
That
As
is
a
a
link-
township.
as-
Yeah.
yes, we did.
Sounds-
Yes,
I
we
agree.
did. Yeah, we did. So I don't know what to say about that. I mean, I felt like he had our confidence. We were working with them. We said, here's our capacity. We don't know what's gonna be there, so it is hard for us to say whether there's gonna be flow. We know if they put in a 12-inch, it's enough to do what they want to do right now. Was what it seemed like to me from Ted. So,
Right now, in what sense? If they haven't given you their amended
right,
plan.
right. Well, but I think
They have a concept plan.
they have a concept plan and for what they had there before. And I think at some point, they can't put in 1,200 rooms on that, like, there surely there has to be a maximum, right? I mean, we would be able to figure that out, and. I mean, so we have to find out as it goes, but right now, for us to say, whether there's pressure there, if we have enough water, if the pipes are big enough, and I understand bigger than a 12-inch pipe is not really something that happens in these types of. Like communities that have bigger 12-inch pipes, Bob Skulls coming like, yeah, Detroit, and they didn't start out with bigger, they started out with little pipes, and then they put in bigger ones. So I think 12-inch is sufficient. I mean, I don't know, I'm going by what Ted's saying, and the information I get from Bob Skull. That a 12-inch main is a pretty gosh darn big main, and they should be able to not have to have any, pressure with. The plans they have, the plans they had, or the plans they're currently proposing. We don't know exactly, what that is. We know it's not a 12-story office building, I mean, so far, I hope, they haven't brought anything like
Not
that
allowed.
forward.
We don't allow
So-
anything over than 2 stories. in the
Yeah,
concept.
so, it's hard for us to say. If we don't know what's going out there, how can we say?
Right, and the drawings I saw in Bob Skull's office also showed that 5 or 6 homes are sort of down in the swale. And for sewer, they're gonna need a lift station. Well,
Yeah.
why would the taxpayers pay for
Who
maintaining a
suggested the
lift?
taxpayers would pay for that?
That's what we need to talk about.
Well, definitely, but I think you're putting a loaded question out there because nobody suggested that the residents would pay for that. And I have the plans that are Bob Skull's desk, I haven't seen them. Patrick Carroll hasn't seen them in an official way. They're really not official. I'm not sure where they came from. So we can go by that, but really it's speculation. And I don't think anybody here at the table wants to spend town residents money on that.
Right, so, the way I look at it, we provide 12-inch water line to their property line, and we provide a sewer line. And everything that happens on their property is developer's expense.
We have talked about this for, it feels like, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
this has been
we
talked
didn't-
about,
We
talked
didn't
about.
supply them. We supplied them. Going into the facility.
You sure?
It's 12 on the road,
Yeah, it's.
8 maybe going into in from the road, but it's 12 on the road.
And there's another issue there where the developer, I think, is responsible for a collapse of the sewer line.
Well, I just heard about this for the first time. Apparently it happened like 6 or 7 years ago, I think, during Mike Jurosic's time. I don't feel like I remember hearing about that,
They
but.
found it right as Westchester
Mhm.
got started.
So that year would have been
And it's the one that
2014,
goes-
what would it be, 20?
6 maybe.
Yes.
2016.
And it goes straight across to the other side of the property where
Mhm.
Chelsea Park.
Yeah, I mean, that's gonna be a problem. We could use ARPA funds for that or something, but that's, but that feels like,
Well, again, it's not Sylvan Township did, it, right? It's happened
who
on,
knows? And at this point,
happened
that's,
on their property, so it's their.
who knows? I mean, I would.
We don't get Westchester in here and talk about this and say, what are you guys doing out there?
Mhm.
Bob Skull's got a set of drawings on his desk, and the board doesn't know anything about it.
Right, right. And
There's-
we're having those conversations. And Carol
we've
can
got-
speak to that too. We've been asking them.
So we have
Bring it
this
closer.
study saying, yeah, you got adequate water along Pierce Road.
You've got water
Parks
capacity,
way before the
Right.
horse.
it's capacity. I think this is, and again, I'm not saying, not saying this isn't what you wanted, but it is what it is. It was a capacity study. So for what it is, it's great. But does it address whether or not there's flow or other things? You know, I don't know. But again, we have big enough pipes, why wouldn't there be? Why wouldn't there be pressure? In Detroit, I mean, I don't understand.
Because it's not just one, the pipe goes to Westchester and then it snakes off and all those different, there's cross connections. And if you don't have enough cross connections,
Well,
you could
even-
have water pressure issues way out at the one.
But
end of
even
the
if you
pipe.
have a 12-inch pipe, you
Yeah.
know that, you'll still have water connection problems without cross connections.
That's what the infrastructure alternatives report said. It says you have
Infrastructure
inadequate
alternatives.
pressure at this hydrant based on what they've,
Well, but based on what they, right, and that
What
was
was
before the
approved.
12-inch main came through. That was before the idea of the 12-inch main. I believe, isn't it? Because that 12-inch main is just within,
It's
past
just
when you
an
brought it up, it was just,
it's just an idea, Westchester hasn't done anything. with
Yeah.
it. It's a great idea.
yeah.
More cross connections were also ideas that
Uh-huh.
infrastructure alternatives had.
Movement of water lines also helps.
Right. But
Yeah,
where we
but that's-
stand
that's gonna
today
be a long time.
is there's an issue out there and there's
Well, I
no,
think there might be an
there
issue
has
out
been no
there.
resolution.
I mean, I don't know if there is an issue out there.
That's
We
what I-
have to figure out like what they're putting in.
That's
and
what
whether
our
it's, You know,
report says. Why did you
the
put?
report
no-
says there's a problem out there.
Yeah.
The way that they're, yeah, the way that they had originally designed it and what they had originally put in.
Right.
Okay, so who, well, okay, so shame on us for advising them when they went in,
Shame
to
on
put in
us.
the smaller line,
We don't
they
know.
recommend.
Westchester, have they acted on that? What they've sort of said is, well,
They
we're
just-
redoing the whole design
But
anyway.
when you're saying what's there now isn't adequate. And I'm saying we approved what they put in there, did we not? So shame on us if we didn't put in a big enough line. to
No, we-
take it away.
No, we did an engineering study of their system and identified issues. It would be just like a traffic study. You may have approved putting in development, it should be contingent upon the traffic study. It should be
Mhm.
contingent upon having.
So we didn't contingent upon anything, we just approved putting an 8-inch line down there, and approved these, and that looks good for us.
What we did is we did an engineering study of what they
Right.
were proposing and we showed that there are weaknesses in that system.
But somehow that line still went under there, approved somehow. Things, people just don't put lines and pipes and development in without it being approved by us, planning commission, something happens.
Well, I don't know the sequence of events, but what I'm saying is
Right.
we officially know that there's an issue.
But I disagree with that, Kurt, but we can agree to disagree, we can talk about.
Read
this.
the infrastructure alternatives report.
And also, then we can engage IMAG, because I thought they were the people that we all agreed were the experts in the area for us. If we want to revisit that, we can revisit that. But we can't say these are our people, and oh, by the way, we're taking the study from here over here too. It's like, we gotta have somebody. And I feel like this has been rampant in our water system, going back to the days when we wanted to have a whole collective study done. And we said, people in Hudson, no, we want to figure out here, we want to do here, but we're not going to pay for the whole overall study. And I feel like, boy, now we would be in a really different spot if we had that whole understanding. Because all these things get piecemeal. We have IA look at Westchester, we have somebody look over here. But are they looking at the system in totality? Because things don't live in silos. We all live in an interconnected thing.
It's
So,
the
it's a
same
lot.
story with Trupiano. The planning commission approved everything. He didn't install it as it was approved. And
And he came back to the
he
board.
came
and
back to the planning commission, to the board, and he agreed to do certain things, yes. And where are we today?
Well, and that's also, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's my other communication here in the packet. And residents have been coming to us from that. They're very unhappy with the situation over there. There's spots where the garage is lower than the driveway, so they got, water coming in, going down. There's all kinds of issues. Joe is MIA. There's a certain amount of time after their closing where homeowners have an opportunity to address these things with the developer. So homeowners association has been in here a lot. And Carol's talked to him, and I've talked to him. I sent a letter to Joe, he didn't respond. I sent it again, certified, so that we know he received it, because he has things he needs to do. He did come back and say, I don't want to put in sidewalks, and we said, okay. So, yeah, he did, but ultimately the board approved those things. He's not out there just, he kind of is, but I mean, ultimately, we're the ones who say yay or nay. I think, am I wrong? I don't know.
Well, he
You
never
know, like-
followed through when the board with the amendment
Right.
to it, so he's never followed through.
He's
So
never
that's
out
kind of
there.
like moot, because he didn't follow through.
And we're.
But he didn't
we're
put the
addressing it
sidewalks
all
in,
the time.
but he didn't do all the contingencies either.
Right,
And he hasn't amended the development agreement, and he didn't do all the other stuff.
right,
So
and that, yeah,
relatively, we didn't put a time frame on. You have to do these things within 6 months. He still owes 130,000 in tap fees,
mhm.
you know, he
Oh,
owes,
well, we're sitting on his performance bond. We have,
Right.
we have a million, I can't remember how much his
it's,
performance bond was. We haven't released that yet. So we still have his skin in the game, to make things right if he's not going to, because he's not complying with the site plan that was approved. The end units, that looks terrible in the backyard. He doesn't have nice burn, the plans even said what
Keystone
type of
box, yeah.
material he was gonna use, because he was trying these end unit people, well, we'll just do this, and then we came back and looked, and the site plan says, no, you will use, what's the price?
Keystone blocks.
Keystone blocks.
And I never heard from him again after he kept arguing with me, he didn't have to do it, and I showed him on the site plan, this is exactly what you agreed to.
Right,
He never responded again.
so, we're still going after him, and that's no joy. And again, it's like, it's who, again, who I'm happy to do these things, and as a supervisor, it feels like it's my job, but it's not one of my statutory duties. It really doesn't fall under any of us. So those are things like, and again, it feels appropriate for the supervisor to be doing that stuff, but it's all what makes up, these jobs and these things that we're quietly doing here, that just, I feel like we don't realize all of the things that individuals are doing. But yeah, that Trupiano's a special case.
I just don't want to be in the same situation with Westchester Farms, because it's 10 times bigger, so.
Right, yeah,
From what I know,
right,
we're running into the same kind of game here. The developer's gonna be done, and there is gonna be adequate water pressure, and I think there's something,
right. Well, I understand your
and the citizens are gonna be,
stuff. And we don't want anybody to be stopped. And definitely the developers are the ones with the deep pockets. They're the ones coming in. They should be prepared to
Right.
pay for some of these things, and, our auditor, they had a conversation with us about that, but don't ever go out on a limb for the developers. If they have the money, and if they don't, then they shouldn't be maybe taking on the chunk of what they're doing. I hear what you're saying.
and maybe that's a discussion with Rob Paul, what is the township's liability in a situation like Hillcrest, where the developer has just refused to do the things,
Mhm.
that engineering study said the developer needs to do.
But don't we eventually do them and then take it out of the performance bond money?
I mean, ultimately, I think
The
that.
development agreement specifies what you can and can't do, and certain things that are allowed, so you don't release the bond money until those things are all checked off by
Yeah, well,
by the engineer.
It's a discussion with Paul, because if you look at some of the bond language that I've seen, talks about very specific areas, streets.
Right.
this,
Trees,
this.
right.
If now you
landscaping.
say retaining walls aren't,
Mhm.
and it's not listed in the bond language,
Right.
I don't know if you can hold back.
You have landscaping
We
in
could,
there.
I was gonna say.
There's certain things that are listed.
listed. But
Yeah.
we would want to run it all, for sure. Because I think.
But you don't release it until Paul says, yeah, and you get that letter from the engineer as well.
Yeah, in the letter to Trupiano probably should come from Paul and saying the bond money is not going to be released. Maybe that would,
Maybe so.
He hasn't asked.
Yeah, he hasn't asked, so I
He
think
hasn't
he
asked for it.
probably knows. And we can have Rob Paul send a letter, we can have Rob Paul send a letter to Leonie. We can do those things. I don't know how helpful it would be. I don't
Well,
know, but.
what we don't want to do is put ourselves in a position where we end up being liable and we get sued for it.
Right.
That's,
we have-
that's what we're
yeah.
trying to do, is eliminate or minimize the risk to the township. That's the problem with Leone, it's nice to write him a letter. And you probably have the date when you had the meeting and they didn't show,
Mhm.
and all that documentation. and we need more documentation to minimize our risk.
Mhm.
Because I don't think, the developers, if he can't connect the house that's been sitting there, he's got a $500,000-600,000 house that he can't connect, he can't plug toilets in.
Mhm.
He's coming after us.
Oh,
He's not going to
absolutely.
Leone.
No, he's not. And we've had this conversation. I had this conversation Monday morning with Sean Lepere from Westchester. He understands, and I said, hey, at some point, we understand, and he's always saying, oh, it's not personal, it's business. We like you, we hate to do that. And I would hate to do that. And if we get sued, so far, the course of direction from our attorney is, if we get sued, we turn around and sue Leone Township for breach of contract. Because we have a contract for a certain flow amount and we are doing a fraction, I think 1/10 of the flow that we have a contract to send, we are currently sending. And so the moratorium that the state has put on Leone is not us, and the developers, know that. And so they're like, but of course we would be their recourse, and then legally, this would be our recourse, and we would sue Leone. Does anybody want to do that? Not really. I don't think so. And I'm hoping at this point in the year in Michigan, it's August. And so kind of this construction season is probably almost lost. So I'm hoping if, people can hang on until April 2023, that's, if that's the best we can do. I don't know. But that's my understanding of how that would go. Is if we got sued for it, we would sue Leone. And the lawyers. Okay, anything else?
And happy to know.
Nope,
Move to adjourn.
All right, move to adjourn at about 8:55. All right, motion by Rod, supported by Sandy, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, say nay. Thank you, motion carried. Thank you.